Welcome to Becoming Limitless. This is the podcast for entrepreneurs who want to optimize their brain and their body with biohacking. I'm going to teach you how to eliminate brain fog and upgrade your health so you can have more productivity, energy, and growth in your business. I'm your host, Tanessa Shears. Let's jump in. Welcome back to the Becoming Limitless podcast. How is your day going? I hope it is a great day so far. I've been looking forward to jumping in and talking to you guys today, partly because I was picking my daughter up, my 2-year-old, from my mom's house last night because she was watching her while I was working yesterday. And I was re-listening to the episode that I did last week with Jordan Syatt on the Entrepreneur's Guide to Workout for Busy Entrepreneurs because I haven't heard it in a while. I recorded it in February while I was pregnant, while the podcast was on a break. But I really wanted to re-listen to it. It was so funny. And I'm listening to it on the way home, and my daughter goes, "That's Mama. I love podcasts." And I was like, this is amazing. I love podcasts too. And she goes, "Maybe tomorrow Tenley can do the podcast." And Tenley is my 5-month-old baby. And I just thought it was so cute that she wanted to hear her baby sister on the podcast. I couldn't bring her on if I wanted right now because she's not even making anything more than cooing sounds. But I just thought it was so cute. And I'm like, yes, we love podcasts in this house. I listen to a whole bunch of different podcasts as well every morning on my walk while I get ready in the morning. Sometimes if I'm working out, I'll listen to a podcast. I love them. I just really love the idea of hearing other people's ideas, experiences of the world, their beliefs, so that I can, learn and grow. And so if you are here, which you are obviously if you're listening, but I want to thank you for being someone who loves growth. So let's get into today's episode. We are talking about 10 reasons that you might be waking up at night. Because let's be honest, there is very little, I believe, worse than being awake at 3:30 a.m., 4:30 a.m. every night. When you wake up and you're like, oh my gosh, it's the middle of the night. And then you're staring at the ceiling, trying to get back to sleep. You feel like you've been trying for like 20 minutes, 30 minutes. But then you're like, okay, if I have to get up at 6:30 and it's 3:30 now, if I can get to sleep now, then I'll have 3 more hours of sleep. Or if I get to sleep in half an hour, you guys start to do all that mental gymnastics around getting back to sleep. And it just sucks. And especially when you're laying there being like, oh, I have such a big day tomorrow. Like Mondays, I have 6 client calls on Mondays right now. And I know that if that ever happens to me on a Sunday night leading into Monday, I'm like, oh boy, no. We need to get back to sleep because I don't want to be tired when I show up for my business. And you probably don't either. And if you're in the place right now where you feel that your nighttime wake-ups make you feel completely out of control and like you're doomed and you're going to stare at the ceiling in the middle of the night forever and there are no possible solutions, I'm hoping that I might shed some insight on some ideas that you can investigate further and take action on that will hopefully help you sleep through the night. Because honestly, one of the big proponents, if you listen to this podcast, sleep is so important because it what gives you that clarity and that focus to be able to show up to your business consistently, day after day, with high performance, to use your brain for bigger, better things. And if we are tired and exhausted all of the time, none of that gets done. And our business just doesn't feel very fun to show up to because we are sitting there because we have to, and we don't have the energy to be there because we want to. So I'm all about optimizing the way our brain and body works. And my job is to help entrepreneurs minimize or completely eliminate middle of the night wake-ups. This is one thing that I coach on week after week, session after session. So many people experience it. So if you do too, you're not alone. So I do just want to make a plug. If you want someone to hold you accountable with systematic steps, implementing one strategy after the other in an order, looking at the data from your Fitbit or your Oura Ring so that you can tell what is working and what is not, someone there to measure the results with you, I want you to DM me on Instagram right now at Tanessa Shears with the word coaching, and we can talk about it. Or you can just head to TanessaShears.com/call, book a one-on-one consultation call with me. Tell me what you're struggling with. What's the problem we're trying to solve? And I will give you some insight onto some of the ways I might go about helping you with this issue. And then, of course, if it's interesting, I will tell you all about how I can help you if we work together. But I'll leave the links in the show notes for that. But let's get into 10 reasons why you're waking up at night. But actually, one more thing I do want to say. It's important to note that as we age, waking up once a night to go to the washroom or even just becoming conscious for a few moments can actually be quite normal. And sometimes we believe that it is abnormal to ever wake up at night. Every night should be through the night sleeping without any disturbances. That's just not necessarily going to be the case most of the time. So I do want you to allow for a little imperfection in that. And you should be able to fall asleep within 5 to 15 minutes. That's the goal, right? If you're waking up in the middle of the night, can you get back to sleep in a reasonable amount of time? If your wake ups are more frequent, like you're waking up twice a night, 3 times a night, 4 times a night, or if you are taking forever to fall back asleep, like it's 20 minutes or longer, there might be some of these shifts that you can make to help you sleep more soundly. And one of the things I want to say right off the bat, if you wake up in the middle of the night, please, 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 if you could see me now, my hands are together saying, please, 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 do not look at your phone or turn on your lights in the middle of the night. Why? I was listening to a really good podcast on light, actually, on the Huberman Lab podcast with Andrew Huberman. And he said that if you look at your phone in the middle of the night to check the time, or you look at a clock, or you turn on the bathroom lights, your melatonin will drop to near zero. Remember, melatonin is the hormone that is actually helping us fall asleep and stay asleep. So if you are one of those people that flip on the bathroom lights or look at your phone to check the time because you're always waking up, please stop. My recommendation would be to instead set an alarm clock for when you want to wake up. That way, if you haven't heard the alarm, the goal is to go back to sleep. All right? So don't ruin your sleep by checking the clock. Not only does it create more anxiety, but the drop in melatonin makes it very, very difficult to get back to sleep. Okay? All right. So here are the 10 ways I have helped clients minimize or completely eliminate nighttime wake-ups in just the last 6 months alone. All right. So let's jump in. Number 1, your blood sugar is not stable while you are sleeping. We've talked about blood sugar before on the podcast. So when you eat food, particularly carbohydrates, and sometimes if you eat too much protein, it does get converted to sugar, glucose, blood sugar, whatever you want to call it. All right. So we all have blood sugar. It is not something that is just related to diabetes. And here's the deal. When your blood sugar is either too high, too low, or fluctuating during your sleep, it causes wake-ups. So if you eat too far from bed or you eat no carbs at bedtime, you may encounter low blood sugar during the night. So it's actually our liver's job to break down stored sugar and be releasing it into the bloodstream while we sleep so that your brain and your body can have the energy it needs to keep breathing and to keep your brain active and all of that kind of stuff. But when your blood sugar gets too low, and this can particularly be a problematic in like people with high stress or healthy people that generally have low blood sugar and then go and drink alcohol, that's a whole nother thing. What this can actually do is it can cause insomnia. It can cause nightmares. It can cause you suddenly waking up, and it can cause you to start sweating. Like all of these things disrupt your sleep. And this is what happens when you have low blood sugar. On the contrast, when you have high blood sugar, this can cause you to wake up feeling really dehydrated, which is where you're like, oh my gosh, I need a glass of water. I feel really thirsty. And you wake up and get a glass of water, right? And the other thing is if you have high blood sugar during the night, it can increase your body temperature and it causes you to feel really hot and irritated and unsettled. And this can also lead to frequent nighttime wake-ups. Now, there are a couple things we look at when we look at blood sugar when we're sleeping. Number 1 is where and when, what time are we eating in proximity to bedtime? So let's say you go to bed at 10. I am making sure that are we eating in just the right amount of time before bed? Because if you eat too far from bed, like if you eat 5, 6, 7 hours from bed, let's say you have an early intermittent fasting window or you cut off dinner early, there is a chance that you might have low blood sugar during the night. On the other hand, if you eat too close to bed, you might actually have high blood sugar that drops during your sleep and you experience all of the symptoms we just talked about. So we're wanting to make sure we find that sweet spot about how close to bed we are eating. And I usually find it's at a minimum of 2 hours from a bed and about a maximum of 4 hours from bed. And when I say bed, I mean when you turn the lights out and go to sleep. That's something you are going to have to experiment with. You try it out, you test it. But what this does mean is those late night snacks, the popcorn, the cereal, all of those things that you're eating before bed could definitely be contributing to your wake up. The other thing we want to be looking at is the carbohydrate quantity and quality of your dinner. So or not even dinner, what you're eating in the last hour. Because if we're having desserts and snacks and all of that kind of stuff after dinner, this can affect it too. But if you're having too many or too few carbs, this can also cause wake ups. And each person has a different carbohydrate tolerance, I would like to say. So like say I ate a banana and you ate a banana, I might have a much more wider of a blood sugar response, meaning my blood sugar goes way up compared to you. So everyone is different, and it is important to experiment. It's kind of like a fuel gauge. Like some people use carbohydrates quite well and metabolize them, and then some people it causes wild blood sugar swings and fat storage and everything like that. So if you are waking up at night and have trouble getting back to sleep, looking at when and what is in your dinner are one of the top things that I like to look at first when it comes to why you're waking up at night. Reason number 2, your evening habits actually might be affecting your melatonin production. Remember, that's the hormone that helps with the onset of sleep. And you might be running out of melatonin too soon, or you don't have enough to keep you asleep. So there's lots of different things that will regulate how much melatonin we have in our system. And some of the big ones being the temperature of your body in the hour before sleep and going into sleep, the type and color and brightness and the height of the light in your environment in the couple hours before bed, what time you have caffeine, how your circadian rhythm is set up, other things like if you exercise too close to bed, do you have a wind down routine in place, alcohol, like all of these things in your evening are things you want to experiment with, meaning like if you have caffeine at 4:00, move it back to 2:00. If you look at, bright lights and screens before bed, maybe try moving them an hour out from when you go to sleep. All of these things will impact the quality and the amount of melatonin that you have in your system. And melatonin is one of those things that helps with sleep. Now, supplementing with melatonin will not overcome all of the evening habits that are disrupting sleep. So like if you're staring into your screens, if you're too warm before bed, if you have late caffeine, if you're drinking alcohol, if you're exercising too late, like taking melatonin as a supplement will not overcome these evening habits. You can't out-supplement bad habits. So you have to really look at the routines and everything you have in place first. So the question is, in the 1 to 3 hours before bed, am I doing stuff that helps my brain stay awake or helps my brain fall asleep? Start to identify what the things are in your evening that might be disrupting your sleep and slowly start testing, weaning them out and seeing what has the biggest effect on helping you stay asleep. The third thing that might be waking you up is if your body is in fight or flight and your cortisol and adrenaline levels are too high heading into sleep. Now, in my work with 6 and 7 figure entrepreneurs, this is a very common reason of nighttime wake-ups because we spend all day in our businesses. We are go, go, go. You know how I talk about that concept of being a human doing? You're doing meetings, posting on social media, putting contracts through, you're doing consultations, like you're go, 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 and you get to the end of the night and it's just more to-do tasks. Put the kids to bed, have dinner, walk the dog, clean the laundry, wash the dishes, like go, 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 go. And then maybe you get on your computer and you work a little bit more, or you read a business book, or you think about all the stuff you didn't get done today in your business, and your brain is in overwhelm and you're worrying about things that just aren't something that you can solve right now or something that can be dealt with at another time. So you head into bed feeling completely wired up, even if you are someone that says, I'm not a stressed out person. But here's the thing, you might not be stressed out, but if you have a lot on your plate and you feel like you're rushing from one activity to the next, to the next, to the next, your body may still be experiencing higher than normal levels of adrenaline and cortisol, and you are in that fight or flight. So how do we counter this? Well, first, go and listen to the episode I did on, I think it's called most entrepreneurs are stuck in this trap. It's all about a human being versus a human doing and how to incorporate more human being into your day. So being connected and present. But ask yourself, did you take the time to intentionally wind your brain down before sleep? Or if you find that you are always thinking about work, after work, right? We need our brain waves to slow down before sleep. And if you are engaged in work right up until you go to sleep, or reading business books, or thinking about work, or planning for a new project, or trying to sneak in some extra work, while you're also watching Netflix and on Instagram at the same time, that is why your brain is stuck in this. You need to allow your body and your brain to calm down. So reason number 4 why you might be waking up at night is just you drank water too close to bed. So if you're waking up to go pee in the middle of the night, just ask yourself, like, when do I cut off big glasses of water? Sometimes it can just literally be the simplest thing. When did you cut off liquid intake before sleep? Sometimes I'll ask that question and I'll have clients say, oh, just like 30 minutes before I go to sleep. And that totally makes sense why we're waking up in the middle of the night all the time. So start with experimenting. If I pull having big glasses of water out an hour before bed, 2 hours before bed, 3, where is that sweet spot in which I'm no longer waking up all of the time, right? And I do say like big glasses of water. So if you need to do sips with brushing your teeth, that's all fine. But if you're waking up to pee all the time, this definitely might be something to experiment with. Reason number 5 that you might be waking up at night is that certain supplements or medications taken before bed can keep your body from a restful sleep. So if you are taking certain things, it is possible that your kidneys may have to work overtime in order to excrete anything you have taken. And I found this out the hard way. This was when I think this was right before I got pregnant last time, and I was taking all of my supplements right before bed because I was like, oh, well, this is easier. I'll just put them with my toothbrush and I'll take all my supplements then. And I noticed I kept having to wake up and pee in the middle of the night, and I was like, what is going on? I don't ever have to do this. And it was when I started looking into this that I found that if your body has, extra vitamin B or C, like, you know what I'm talking about? If you've ever taken a multivitamin and you have bright yellow pee, you're peeing out the excess vitamins and minerals above what your body either needs or has stored in some cases. So a good example is your body can only hold so much vitamin B and C, and when you have reached capacity, you will pee out any extra of that vitamin. So if my kidneys are needing to process that out, then I'm likely going to need to wake up to pee. So I actually moved all my supplements to earlier in the day. And this goes the same with medications. This is going to be something you are going to want to talk to your doctor about if you are on any type of medication, about if you could move it to a different time of day as a test to see if it is something that could help you out. Another thing, vitamin D, I didn't know this for the longest time, but vitamin D can actually blunt a normal rise in melatonin. And I used to take my vitamin D at night. I was like, oh my gosh. So simple switch. If you're taking vitamin D, switch it to later in or earlier in the day or at a different time. Just experiment. This whole thing is not supposed to be 10 reasons you're waking up at night and 10 different things to implement. What I want you to be listening to is when you're going through this and you're waking up at night, I want you to be going, oh, interesting. I do that. I don't do that. That one I do. That one I do. And then taking notes of all of the different solutions available to you and then choosing only one to implement tonight and for the next week. And if it works, great, keep it. If it does not, try something new, all right? So you're constantly editing and experimenting. So reason number 6 that you might be waking up at night is that you have mild or moderate sleep apnea that has gone undetected. So sleep apnea seems like one of those big scary things that we think we definitely should know that we have or we don't have. But I have not only worked with clients, but experienced it with family members who have had sleep apnea and have not known it. And the only way they found out about it was because their partner heard them, stop sleeping or stop breathing during the night or take a big gasp in, like because they had stopped breathing for a certain amount of time. So if you've ever heard of sleep apnea before, it's basically when you stop breathing for a certain number of times or periods during the night and your oxygen levels in your blood begin to fall. So this can not only have you feeling extremely tired during the day the next day, but when you take that gasp in, when you start breathing again, it can wake you up. So if you look at your Fitbit or your Oura Ring or however you track your sleep and you see a whole bunch of wake ups, even if you're like, weird, I don't remember any of those, or even if there's ones that you do, it might be worthwhile asking your physician to do an at-home sleep study. You just bring home this little machine. It velcros around your waist. You have a oxygen meter on your finger. You have oxygen sensors up your nose. And I think that might be what there is. There might be something else, but point being, it'll tell you how often you have apneas or you stop breathing and how long they last and what your oxygen levels drop to. So this might be something to ask your doctor if you snore during the night, you wake up unexpectedly a lot and you don't know why, you are experiencing unexplained daytime fatigue. These are all things to talk with your doctor about because you just might have mild or moderate sleep apnea that you just don't know about. Reason number 7. your bedroom is not optimized for sleep, and environmental triggers like temperature changes or just the temperature in general or lights or sounds are waking you up. So in these situations, I like to ask okay, what's waking me up? Is my husband waking me up early in the morning because he's rummaging around the bedroom looking for his socks? Okay, well, maybe I can make sure that the socks, or he can make sure, we can work together that the socks are somewhere easy to find so that it doesn't wake me up. Or I've just had a client who had her neighbor's dog was barking all of the time, and it was waking her up during the middle of the night, and it made it hard to get back to sleep when she did hear it. So what can we do to block out the dog barking? Could we put a sound machine on? Could we get noise insulating curtains? Could we put earplugs in, right? The amount of clients that I've worked with that actually have bright street lights outside their windows that brighten up their whole bedroom, right? Like bright lights like this increase heart rate during the night, and they also drop what's called our HRV, our body's stress score. So actually having light, and if you're exposed to light while you are sleeping, your body is not able to recover properly and it is under more stress. So you ask yourself, what's waking me up? And then optimize for this. I actually had a client once who lived across the street from a fire station. And while in the night they don't pull out with the sirens going, they had this big bright floodlight on top of the fire hall, and it used to light up her whole room. And it was super simple. We just experimented with putting cardboard over the windows to block out the light before we invested in expensive curtains or roller blinds and stuff like that. And it was amazing, the difference in the quality of her sleep just by blocking out that light that was disrupting her sleep. And of course, if you're waking up in the middle of the night and it might be an environmental trigger, always just go back to those things like what disrupt my circadian rhythm or my body's internal clock. Things like light. Is there something with light affecting me? Is it temperature related? You know what I mean? So really looking at those things and asking yourself, okay, if this is the problem, what are all the solutions that I could do to fix it? So we're moving on to number 8, which is waking up with either restless legs or stiffness or pain. I've definitely worked with several clients who have trouble sleeping because of soreness in their legs. They do happen to be runners, actually quite a lot of the time. So there are a couple things that you could look at. Number 1, I always recommend to go see your doctor or specifically a physiotherapist, somebody who is trained in sports injuries, if it is sports injury related or running related. If you don't run or you're not active and your legs are sore all the time and it makes it hard to sleep, definitely worth seeing an expert about this, because they can prescribe you recovery exercises or different things to help treat those muscles that might be tight or those joints that might be sore. Another thing that you could do, like for me when I was pregnant, or if I have a really hard spin workout or something, sometimes I just get tight muscles and my joints ache and it feels like I have a deep ache in my bones. And for me, I just have to remind myself hey, am I taking time to stretch after my workouts? Oh, look at that. I haven't been stretching recently. That's something that I need to take 10 minutes to do after my workout. Or, could I add in some foam rolling or grab a lacrosse ball and dig into the muscles that are sore? These are things that you can experiment with for yourself. There are so many resources on YouTube. If you're I don't know how to foam roll, if you just go on YouTube and typing in foam roll my legs or how to foam roll your legs, I'm sure you will get hundreds and hundreds of videos on that. So these are just little at-home things that you can try, right? Taking care of yourself and your body and making sure you're allowing for recovery after your workouts, or even if you're not working out, really working on just allowing your body to return to its natural state by dealing with tight muscles and joints through foam rolling and stretching. The last thing, if you're waking up with a lot of soreness in general, it might be a good time to get a new mattress or potentially a new pillow. So if these things get old, they often lose a lot of their firmness or their stuffing or whatever it is, and you can create divots in your mattress or flat pillows, and these things are no longer providing the support. So if you've had your mattress longer than 7 or 8 years, or if you've had your pillow longer than 2 to 3 years, it might be worth experimenting, switching it up and seeing if this is something that could be causing your discomfort at night. Reason number 9, almost at the end, that you might be waking up at night is pelvic floor dysfunction. Now, if you listened to my episode on all my pregnancy hacks and postpartum hacks and stuff like this, you'll know that I saw a pelvic floor physiotherapist after both pregnancies. And I learned that some of the habits that I have done without knowing it actually caused me to have to feel like I had to pee more often than I actually did. So this kind of goes back to if you're waking up at night to pee all of the time, this might be why. So when I was going through physiotherapy, she asked me a funny question. She's like, when you go pee, how many seconds are you peeing for? And I was like, I have no idea. So of course, then I'm like checking. And did you know that when you go pee, you are supposed to be able to pee for at least 7 seconds. If you are taking 4 seconds to pee, 5 seconds to pee, it means you are peeing too prematurely and you are not waiting for your bladder to properly fill up. So what this is happening is your bladder adjusts, and basically how your bladder tells your body that you need to pee is it expands as it fills up with urine. And when it reaches a certain amount of stretch on the walls, because the bladder is expanding and getting bigger, it sends a message to the brain that it's time to pee. So if you are constantly prematurely peeing, it adjusts that stretch receptor reflex. So you may be having to go pee more often than you actually need to. So one of the strategies, and like I said, this is my experience. If you find that you are a really short peer or you have to pee all the time, talk to a pelvic floor physiotherapist. They are wonderful. I didn't even know how many things were available for us to know about our pelvic floor. And men have pelvic floor too. It's not just women on this. But basically, I had to learn how to pee appropriately, because when I was a personal trainer, I used to see 7 clients back to back. Like, I'm not kidding. I didn't even put food breaks in there. And so what I would do was between every client, I would go pee because I was nervous about what if I have to pee during my next session and I have to wait. So I created this cycle of prematurely peeing every hour. And what that had caused was it had caused this like adjustment in that stretch receptor that we were talking about. So she taught me something called double voiding, and you can Google it, double voiding for urination, but it's basically the idea of when you go to the bathroom, make sure that you are not in a rush, for one, and you sit down and you go pee and you pee all the way out. Then what you'll do is you'll stand up like you're going to, put your pants on, and then you're going to sit down again and you're going to try to pee again. And so much of the time, especially I know for me, like I was in a rush all the time to pee, that you don't actually even empty your bladder the whole way. So why am I telling you this? Well, because if that is the situation that you are in and you're not going pee all the way before the end of your evening and you're going into sleep with a bladder that's already partially full, it could be very likely that this may be causing you to wake up in the middle of the night because your bladder is full. So either see a pelvic floor physio, Google double voiding and give it a try, but this could be something that is causing you to wake up and have to pee in the middle of the night. The very last thing, number 10, reasons you're waking up at night, and this one is out of our control, but I want to include it anyways because I have some great resources. Your kids are waking you up. And my baby right now is 5 months old. I have a 2-year-old. I have clients who have children that have night terrors, wake up at night, problems transitioning to the big kid bed. They don't stay in bed at night. And all of these things can definitely keep us up at night. Now, there's always the exceptions, like if your child is sick or there's something temporary going on, like a sleep regression or something like that. Or like me, if you have a newborn and you're feeding during the night. All of these things are normal. However, if they are problematic and, say your kids won't stay in bed or your child is used to being nursed to sleep and you're up multiple times a night and soothing them back to sleep and they don't know how to put themselves back to sleep, I have 2 resources for you. I took a program by a woman called, her name is Kara. So her Instagram handle is Taking Cara, not care of, Kara, Cara, babies, Taking Cara babies. And I took her sleep program when my first daughter was a baby, and it helped so much with sleep. And we are using a lot of the principles now with Tenley as she is 5 months old. And I'm knock on wood right now. She has slept through the night for the last 3 nights since implementing some of these things. And so just know that you're not stuck if you feel like you don't know what to do or what to try. There are options available. So I took that course. But if your little one is between 3 and 5 years old, one of my friends has a business called Awesome Little Sleepers. You can find her on Instagram. Her name is Jessica Burke. And she specifically helps 3 to 5 year olds adjust to the big kid bed and stop stop the whole getting out of bed all the time and coming and joining you in bed and asking for 2 more stories and another glass of water and all of that kind of stuff that happens with our more preschool aged kids. So 2 great resources for you there, because we can't control when our kids wake up in the night, but what we can do is seek out solutions to help them learn how to self-soothe and put themselves back to sleep and cope with, some of the things that come along with sleep regressions and growing up and having to sleep in your own bed. So those are 10 of the reasons you might be waking up at night. I gave you some guidelines on things I might look at and experiment with that may help you have a much more restful sleep and sleep through the night, right? And if you're listening to all this and you're like, I love it, I saw myself in 3 of those, I have some ideas, but I'm so overwhelmed, I don't know where to start. This is where my one-to-one coaching program, Becoming Limitless, may be a great option for you, because these are the things that can wake you up. And my program is designed to help you deep dive strategically into testing out the solutions that work for you, because what keeps you up at night is going to be different than what keeps someone else up at night, right? So if you want help creating a measurable plan that is sustainable and it is fun, and you want me by your side with accountability, I would love for you to reach out and book a consultation call with me at tanessashears.com/call, or you can just DM me on Instagram and ask all of the questions that you have there. It's about strategically testing out solutions and making it specific to you, not what somebody else does and works for them, but for you. And I have multiple solutions for every one of these problems we talked about, and it's about testing them in a measurable way so we can figure out what is keeping you up at night, because we want you to have uninterrupted, restful, quality sleep so that you can wake up feeling clear and energized and focused, have productive days in your business, and still have the energy to come home and enjoy your evenings, work on the projects you want, play with your kids, cook, whatever it is that lights you up. And I want you to be able to have the energy to do all of that. So reach out to me if you would love the accountability and someone on your side to help bring that plan to life. But otherwise, I hope this has been exceptionally helpful at helping you figure out what the heck is keeping you up at night. So have a beautiful week, and I will talk to you next time. Bye. Learn something new in this episode or feel inspired to take action? I'd love for you to share it with a friend and leave a review. Your review will help one more entrepreneur feel healthier, more energized, and focused. If you feel good about helping a friend or a fellow business owner you've never even met, you are my kind of people. I'm excited to help you become limitless in the coming episodes.